Hi guys, it's Carol. How are ya? I am pretty good. I got to get out of my apartment today and drive through town. It was like seeing a whole new place. It's been so long since I've been anywhere. Um, my daughter decided she wants to trade her car in, and she has a full tank of gas, so she wanted to drive around a little bit and use some of the gas up. So I asked her to take me to Cadillac Ranch so I could film it for you. We use less than a gallon of gas because it's not that far down the road. But anyway, if you don't know about Cadillac Ranch, it's an art installation right on I-40. It was the idea of a group called Ant Farm. There were three men in San Francisco. Two were architects and one was an art student, and they formed this group, Ant Farm, to create pieces of pop art, big pieces of pop art. So one time, one of them was in a bar, and there was a children's book on cars laying there. Why there was a children's book in a bar, I don't know. But he was looking through it, and there was a chapter on the rise and the fall of automobile tail fins, like Cadillacs had. And so he started sketching out what he would create as a monument to the golden age of automobiles, back when they were elaborate. Anyway, he and his friends came up with this idea how to build it, and somehow they got a list of millionaires that would possibly fund pop art. This was the heyday of pop art back then. And they contacted Stanley Marsh III, who lived in Amarillo. He's deceased now. And he agreed to fund it. He often said that he liked public art that would baffle the locals. He did all kinds of art projects. Well, anyway, he owned ranch land here, and I-40 goes right through the ranch land, and so he installed it on his land. That was in 1974. In 1997, they moved it a couple of miles down I-40 because the city was growing and encroaching on the on Cadillac Farm. So they moved it, which was quite a deal. But anyway, what it was is Stanley Marsh III. His name was Stanley Marsh III, but he thought that sounded pretentious, so he called himself Stanley Marsh III. Began buying up 10 Cadillacs. He didn't pay any more than $200 for them. He bought them from individuals or junkyards, but most of them were drivable. They were still nice cars. And a couple had to be towed out to the location, but most of them were drivable, and somebody drove them out there. He had a crew dig these holes and bury the cars halfway down, nose first, at the exact angle as the Great Pyramid of Giza. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it. It's Giza. And I don't know why that's important, but anytime you read an article about Cadillac Ranch, it mentions that they're buried at that specific angle. Okay. They were their original colors. Most were like pale yellow, pale blue. And it's free. You can, if you're driving down I-40, you can easily see it. You can park along the access road and walk through the cow pasture. It's fenced, but there's a gate up to the Cadillacs, and he always encouraged people to spray paint them as an art form. And so they are literally coated in thousands of layers of, oh, there's Toby, spray paint. In fact, there's a man that sits out there on the access road in his pickup with a table selling spray paint. There's also a gentleman that makes jewelry out of the pieces of the spray paint that chips off. Because there's so many layers. It just chips off and lays laying on the ground. You can pick them up, and he has created beautiful jewelry with them. Molly wants to play with Andy, and Andy does not want to play. He's telling her it's nap time, Molly. Anyway, it's free. There's no building out there or anything. It's just these cars out in a cow pasture. Originally, it was in a wheat field until he moved it. And that's what Cadillac Ranch is. People from all over the world come to visit it. I mean, during daylight hours, you cannot drive by there without seeing cars parked there and people walking up to the cars to take pictures and to spray paint. I went out there about 9:30 this morning. There were about 20 cars there. Just as you are approaching the cars, you can smell spray paint in the air. It's just, people are just constantly there spray painting them. If you spray paint something on there today, by tomorrow it'll be totally covered up. You won't be able to see it. One year, the hotel chain, Hampton Inn, painted them back to their original colors. Yes, when I put on lipstick for do these films, Toby wants to smell it and see what on earth is on my mama. One year, somebody painted them solid white for a commercial of some kind. One year, it was Stanley Marsh's wife's birthday, and he had them all painted pink for her. One time during Gay Pride Month, he painted them all in rainbow stripes. They were red one year at Valentine's Day. When one of the founding members of Ant Farm passed away, he painted all the cars black. But, you know, immediately within 24 hours, they would be covered in spray paint in all different colors again. And that's what he encouraged people to do. Locals have never quite understood the draw of how this was art, but anyway, I'm going to add a clip of the jewelry. I'm a horrible photographer, and I use my cell phone, so you know it's not very good. So what I want you to do is actually Google Cadillac Ranch, and you will see beautiful photographs of them. And then I'm going to put a little bitty clip of the cars, because I filmed a lot, but there were people there, and I didn't want to post pictures of people that I don't even know, and I didn't ask them if I could use their photograph. So here comes a little bitty bit of Cadillac Ranch. I'll talk to you later. Bye. Hi, Toby and I are back because I forgot to tell you, the cars range from 1949 models to 1963 models. And how Stanley Marsh had all this money was his grandparents became very wealthy when they discovered oil and natural gas on their property. So Stanley Marsh III was a billionaire. He did all kinds of art projects. He would say that art is a legalized form of insanity and that he does it very well. He has this ranch, hundreds of thousands of acres, and he would have a pool table, a phantom pool table on the ranch. He changed the location every May Day and Halloween when he was alive. What it was this rectangular form that was 70 by 180 feet. He would have it placed somewhere on the ranch, have his crew spray paint the vegetation bright green to look like a pool table, and he had these huge, gigantic balls that looked like pool table balls and the triangle and cue sticks, and he would have that put somewhere on the ranch. It was on private property, so you couldn't drive up and see it. The only way people could see it is if they were in a plane flying over the ranch. And like I said, he moved it twice a year to a different location on the ranch. He was an eccentric guy. Out northwest of town, there's a hill, and he bought hundreds of sheets of plywood. had it painted sky blue and installed in a straight line. So if you're driving on that road, as you approach the hill, it looks like the top part is floating in the air. He calls it the floating mesa. And he did those giant legs that I filmed one time earlier. He had these, he would put signs up that looked like street signs. They would be diamond shaped, and if anybody wanted one, he would put it in their yard for them, as long as it was the front yard where people could see it, because that was the point, to let people view this art. He put weird sayings on them, like, one of my favorites was, "What is a village without the village idiots?" I mean, I wouldn't want one in my yard. The one that gets photographed a lot just says, "Road does not end." He did 200 of them, so there were a lot of different sayings. Some of them were beautiful. He had an artist paint replicas of Georgia O'Keeffe's art on some of them, and they were pretty. Anyway, I wanted to tell you where he got his money and some other projects he did. I'm going to add those little bitty clips now, and if you're interested, Google it so you see pretty pictures. Okay, guys, I'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye.